Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin in Real Life. And I see we got a few comments here, and um, I guess we'll read them because that's what I do. Dinosaur Rocks. His reply is very interesting. I'm thinking twice before rushing to get involved in Ethereum now. Thanks. I'm assuming that's my video that you saw me talk about Ethereum and the whole process of what is being done now is proof of work, very similar to how Bitcoin does mining, and then Ethereum at a later date going to a proof of stake, which is very different than proof of work, and some of the other things I talked about. But most importantly, I really made this video for this gentleman right here, Bitcoin, and where I just discussed in my previous video my experience with Coinbase. My experience with Coinbase that happened almost oh my gosh, it's almost been 2 years. I haven't used Coinbase in over 2 years. I did use them at first when they first came out. I remember when they allowed a 10 Bitcoin limit, and at the time I think Bitcoins were about 1,000, so that would have been $10,000. That didn't last too long. They quickly changed that to 1,000. Anything over 1,000, you had to wait a week. And so, anyways, I filled out all that stuff. I went, did the background check. They asked me lame questions about my past. I answered all that, and then did the credit card thing, linked my credit card, did all that. And it was okay for a while. They let me buy and they let me sell, and it worked for a while. And then all of a sudden they started implementing a lot of the know your customers and money laundering. I wouldn't say they're laws. They're just their guidelines, their own money laundering guidelines and everything. And that's when things started to really drastically change, especially when they hired a compliance officer from, um, I don't know where this guy came from, but he came from the banking industry. But they had a compliance officer from that, and the guy left eventually. But obviously, Coinbase hired a lot of compliance officers or compliance people, and they fucked the whole shit up. Next thing I know, my cash deposits were my when I sold my Bitcoin and I wanted to be transferred to my bank, they were being rejected by my bank. Um, Sometimes, and here's the weird thing. I would add different banks. It used to be you could add multiple banks, and then you could just decide where you want your money to go. Um, their ACH confirmation, they send you like a couple cents there and a couple cents here to confirm that that's your account. They would fuck that shit up too, and just weird stuff. And then, what really pissed me off was when I bought, you know, um, a little bit more than my limit, over my limit, in which I had to wait a week, and the price was really low, and then a week later the price was really high, and they canceled my order. That really pissed me off. But what really stopped me from using them was I was trying to buy a gift card, and it was $60, and they wouldn't let me buy $60 worth of Bitcoin so I can buy a gift card. That was it. That was like, wow, I'm never using this place ever again. And you know, it's a blessing in disguise because now I literally buy as much Bitcoin as I want, and as long as they're available, and uh, there is no restrictions. Once you leave the regulated market, or once you leave the regulated industry, or the bank, or any regulated, you know, entity, um, and you're out there. I mean, literally, you are out there on your own. Um, there is no limit. You can do a million, a billion. If you have $1 billion in cash, you can buy $1 billion in Bitcoin as long as you operate in the unregulated market. So there is no regulation, right? It is the Wild West, and so I guess Bitcoin. I know that's not your real name, but uh, maybe what's happening to you is really a blessing in disguise, because now you can leave the regulated market and join the unregulated market, where literally you are 100% responsible for everything you do. And I saw your recent video. Let me go to, if you click right here, it goes to his channel, and you'll see that he's made some Coinbase videos here. And as you responded to my video about, yeah, I'm having a bit of an issue with Coinbase. It's been 5 days and still I don't have my money. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but my opinion, my advice would be, just leave Coinbase. Don't, and also leave the regulated markets, because the regulated markets are restrictive against the user. Okay, they restrict the user from creating money out of thin air. So that's essentially what I do. I create money out of thin air. How do I do that? I use Bitcoin to do that. And I've done it for 3 years, and I'm telling you, the banks hate you for it, because they're watching you make all the money. They're watching you create all this money for yourself, and here they are watching you do it while you withdraw all this money out of your account. Or maybe if you thought it like a banker, you're withdrawing money out of their account, what you actually put in, but if they consider it their money, that's why they don't like it. I have no proof that's what the real reason is, but that's what I can only assume, because you know, I've done this for 3 years, and it just seems like my experience using Bitcoin to empower yourself, both financially, right, and legally, and self-empowerment, all that good stuff. You're literally creating money out of thin air. And one time I was in California, and I was waiting. I was kind of making a company with someone. That someone eventually left, but never showed up the next day. Anyways, I had to print out the company agreement, and I walked into a printing place. It was a small printing place, and I asked them, "Hey, do you print from an email?" And they're like, "What do you need?" And I was like, "Well, I'm trying to print from someone who sent me an email, but I don't have I can't find a Kinko. I don't want to find a Kinko because the FedEx place is literally, it wasn't a Kinko FedEx. It was just a FedEx shipping, and next to it was a little printing place. So they said, "Hey, give me $1 and email it to me, and I'll print it." And so they printed it, and they asked me, "What do I do?" And I told them why I'm a Bitcoin investor. And they're like, "Oh, cool, we've heard of that. We've heard of Bitcoin." And they asked me, how do you get away with buying and selling Bitcoin? And I'm like, well, the same reason the Fed can print money. And the reply was, well, yeah, but the Fed has like the government backing. The same reason I can create money out of thin air is the same reason why the Fed can create money out of thin air. And I don't need the government backing, and nor does the Fed really. Although that's what is going on. Um, don't you think it's kind of weird that the state is backing a private entity for money, to create money? Why is that? Well, that's because any private entity can create money out of thin air. And there's nothing the state can do about it. That's why the Fed can do what they do. There's nothing that the state can do to stop them. Um, so, and that's also the same reason why there's nothing the state can do to stop you from creating money out of thin air. And so, if you know anything about how the Fed and the banks create money out of thin air, then you can understand why, or understand how you can do it using Bitcoin, creating money out of thin air. And that's also the same reason why the banks don't really like you using Bitcoin, because they're literally watching you make money while they just sit there and you're using their infrastructure, their building, their employees to create money out of thin air for yourself. So I think it might be best for you to just go ahead and just join the unregulated market like I am, and where I think a lot of people are. And I also watched your video. I love your rants. Boy, people can rant when they're totally angry and dissatisfied with something, right? So, anyways, I watched your second part of your Bitcoin Coinbase rant part 2, and yes, you're right about a lot of things. The more rules they make, the more loopholes. Actually, it's not a loophole, okay? You have an absolute right to do. Well, I have an absolute right to do everything that I'm doing, and the state cannot do anything about it, nor can the Fed or the bank. The only thing they can do is they can choose not to do business with me, which a lot of them have. There's nothing, they can't be forced into having me as a customer. But again, the state can't stop me from doing what I'm doing. The same reason the state won't stop the Fed from doing what they're doing. A lot of people think like the Fed is a part of the state. No, that's not the case. The Fed is a private entity, and I guess all Bitcoiners know that by now. But I'm still amazed how much of the general public still think the Federal Reserve is a part of the state. No, they're not. They create money out of thin air, and they're allowed to do it. They can do it because they have the right to do it, because the state cannot stop them from doing it. But the state can't stop me from doing that either, and the state can't stop you from doing that either. The banks will try to stop you from doing that by not allowing you to do business with them. But if you really understand how money is created out of thin air, you won't even need a bank. What you do is you just start a spreadsheet of your own and just start adding numbers in there. Next thing you know, the numbers that you have just grow, and all you do is just pump out the cash. Isn't that amazing? So if you're having a hard time and you're having difficulty with these institutions or entities or organizations, you might be better off not interacting with them anymore, because you'll eventually realize, or I'm pretty sure you realize they don't want you doing what you do. because basically you're taking, they're just watching you make all the money and they're not getting any piece of it, and that pisses them off. And I watch your Bitcoin Coinbase rant part 2, and you're right about the firearms. They make so much. First of all, it's confusing. There is no loophole per se. There is no loophole, and what I mean by that is you have the absolute right to create money out of thin air. There is no loophole. Okay, all they did was build a barrier for you to prevent you or confuse you from doing that. And just like you talked about how, and I know you talked about this, and I'm gonna go ahead and show it. I mean, you may have been watching my videos, but you know what this is, right? Let me pull back out here. You know what this is, right? This is an 80% lower right here. See, polymer 80% AR-15 lower receiver and jig. So here's my lower receiver. Here's the jig part, which you can watch the episodes. But you get this, and this part right here. This part right here, that's the part that I did. Took a drill and a cross-slide vise, and I milled this out. Before that, it was just solid. Matter of fact, let me cut out, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, I'm cutting back in here, and hopefully you can see that. And so here it is, for the most part. Here is my unregistered, homemade AR-15 lower polymer. You see that? No registration whatsoever. And guess what? There's no limit to how much you can make. Although I've heard the ATF would only like you to make 2 a year. Well, fuck them. Who gives a shit about them, right? So actually I bought 4 of these. I've already given 1 away, and this is the pocket right here. This is the kit, and if you look at this one, and I bought 4 of these. Okay, you could buy an unlimited amount, because these aren't really, this is not a gun. This is just a piece of plastic, right? All you have to do is just mill that out, right? Got the trigger on the bottom here, it's a trigger hole in the bottom, and you mill this out. You drill the holes for the trigger group. There's your 20%. Complete that, you got 100% lower. I bought 4 of these. I'm planning to make, I don't know, shit, as many as I want. But like this right now, it's just a piece of plastic. What I do is, if you join me, well, not you, but anybody who joins me in my company gets one of these as a gift from me to you. And if you can go ahead and learn how to make one of these, you can learn how to mill it. I'll buy you the lower part, the lower kits. What do you call it? The lower part kit, which is basically trigger group, the bolt catch, the takedown pins by that point. What else? The mag release, the handle, the buffer tube, the spring, what's that, the detent in here, some other detents, but the lower parts kit. If you can just mill this out, I buy the lower part kit for you as a gift. And check this out, it's the lower part kit. That's not the gun. Those are just parts. So I can just buy and give it to anyone. And if you can put that together, right? When you get to this point, and you can mill this out, you get the lower parts kit. I haven't done this yet, Matter of fact, I'll show you what a lower looks like if you want to. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. And so this is what I've gotten so far. Let me show you what a real, this is, by the way, it's also known as a ghost AR-15. The reason is because there is no serial number to put on, there's nothing to register. My whole point of showing you this was that there is no loophole. You have the absolute right, alright, to begin with, to do this. There is no loophole. Any regulation that was created was to put up barriers for you not to have one of these, right? Or for you to have it, you have to do certain things. Basically, they're barriers from you acquiring a firearm. Okay. Other than that, there was no loophole. You have the right to do this. An absolute right, God given to you the day you were born into this earth. Alright? And once you realize that, you can do anything. Whatever your heart's desire. So let me just put this away, and this is a piece of plastic. Okay. Alright everyone, you're gonna laugh at me. Why not? Why not? This is a fucking piece of plastic. This is a gun. Plastic, gun. Plastic, gun. What's the fucking difference? Knowledge is power. And there are those who want to withhold knowledge from you to enslave you. But once you acquire knowledge, you're no longer a slave to no one. So why not? Why don't I just show you what my pistol here. Yes, there's a pistol in here. Oh yeah, there's a tennis racket as well. But yeah, this is what I carry with me everywhere. I don't care what state I'm in, where I go. I don't have to tell any U.S. Justice Department where I'm going with this. I don't have to notify any state U.S. Justice Department to let them know, hey, I'm coming in with my pistol. And yeah, I do carry loaded, but not chambered. So here's my registered. And you're absolutely right. This is not a gun. This is nothing more than pieces and parts. This with the serial number here, this is the gun. This is the gun. Actually, I could still take more pieces out. I could take the takedown pins out, the bolt catch, which in this particular style I can actually just go ahead and push all the way out and start turning and take it out. The trigger, bolt catch, the trigger group, the whole safety, the buffer tube, the buffer, the spring inside it, all these little detents in here. That's not even the gun. The gun is actually, even the handle's not the gun, the trigger's not the gun. It's really right here is the gun. That's the gun. Anything that has the serial number, that's the gun. Everything else you could disassemble. They're just parts and pieces. And so, I have to fill out this form, letting them know I'm not a criminal, I'm not insane, I'm not going to go kill anybody. Kind of weird if you're buying a gun, you're not going to go kill anybody. But I basically have to just lie on the damn form and say, oh, well, I'm not lying, but some of the questions they have, it's like, duh, am I really going to say yes to any of these things? Of course not, because I want this gun. So it's a joke, really. But yeah, those regulations were built so it's a little bit harder to get one of these in some states. In Texas, not really much of a problem, but those regulations are barriers from you getting one of these. Now, conversely, since I have the absolute right to bear arms, there is no regulation from me buying 10 of these, because it's not a gun, it's a piece of plastic, and then doing this to it, just milling the middle piece, and then all I have to do is take apart this. All these pieces I can take apart and just put it on this now. And now this is my unregistered Ghost AR-15. And I can have this without fear of persecution and prosecution from any state. And I can have as many as I want. And not only that, I can have as many as I want in all the states. All the states. Alright? They joined the union. Right? If they have a problem with this union, they can leave. But that also means they're not a part of America, which means I can attack I can attack whatever leaves America, right? It's not America anymore. I can have a private army and invade them. So yeah, there's regulations, but there is no loophole. You've always had the absolute right to do this. Always. Never be taken. May not. Matter of fact, it says on the box, right? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There is no loophole. You've always had the right, since the day you were born. So my point of showing you all this is that you don't need a bank. You become the bank. Essentially, if you really think about it, you become the Fed. And the state cannot tell you what to do. If you want to create money out of thin air, you may, and that shall not be infringed. That's why the Fed can do what they do. Not because they have the money or they have the power. There is no loophole. You always have the right to do that. And I'm going to challenge anything else out there. I wonder if the IRS is even legal. I'm willing to challenge that. I'm serious. I'm wondering if any of these organizations, IRS, the Justice Department, the FBI, are they legitimate? I mean, we all think the Federal Reserve is part of like the state. They're not. Why are these organizations even existing? I wonder if they even are legal. Knowledge is power. Power is freedom. Anybody who tries to restrict your knowledge is restricting your freedom. It's restricting your power. It's basically enslaving you. Yeah, it's loaded. So, anyways, let me cut out here. Let's go back to the computer. I'm assuming you saw some of my videos because I can take this into any state I want. I have the absolute right to transport my firearm. This is not an SBR, which stands for short barrel rifle, which you have to register with the ATF, and then you have to get permission when you cross state lines and all that other bullshit. This is a pistol. That's a very big pistol. In reality, this is basically, if you want to call it a loophole, there is no loophole. You've always had the right to do this. Basically, this is basically nothing more than a short barrel rifle that I call a pistol, right? And I can go anywhere I want to with this, almost anywhere. There's some rules, but for the most part, in any public space, for the most part, or my private property, or someone else's private property, I can take this anywhere with me. And if you do have a license to carry and conceal, and if you're in Texas, most of them will reciprocate with you. You can also be an out-of-state license holder. All right. Yeah, you can also, well, wherever there's open carry, you can open carry. But if you want to conceal, this is how I conceal mine because the damn thing's so damn big. But yeah. Oh yeah. This is how I conceal mine. And yes, I take it everywhere with me wherever I trade Bitcoin, because you can't trust anybody these days. Not even the police, not even law enforcement. You can't even trust them anymore. Not that I ever did, but there you go. Now let's go ahead back to the computer. Alright, welcome back everyone. Cutting back in there. So Bitcoin, I've seen your videos, I've seen you off and on, and my personal opinion on this whole thing with you and Coinbase is I think it's really a blessing in disguise. If you really want to explode in your use of Bitcoin and make more money than, I mean literally you're making money out of thin air, more money than you've ever can imagine, join the unregulated market. There's risk involved because you're taking responsibility for everything you do, so you have to protect yourself. And if you want to protect yourself, you know, there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself because, you know, because who's going to protect you? You think the state's going to protect you? You think Coinbase is going to protect you? No, there is no loophole here. There was never a loophole. You have the right to defend yourself. Yeah, foreign or domestic. You know, it's not just for the state or the military to protect you or fight for you. You can fight for yourself, and you don't have to be a trained military. All right. Are you an able body? You don't have to even be, I don't think you even have to be 18. If you're just an able body, yeah, you can you could be a militia of one. It doesn't really matter. The right to bear arms to secure a free state may not be infringed. You know, may not be infringed. So, anyways, my point is you don't need Coinbase. You don't even need a bank. You just need someone who's willing to sell you as much Bitcoin as you can buy. And you know, like I said, people who join my company get oh, hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So, anybody who joins my company, you get one of these plastic pieces from me. You get this little plastic toy. Basically, get this plastic little toy from me, in which, if you have a strong desire to fight for your freedom and get out of slavery, this particular piece, because it is a plastic piece, I give you this little plastic piece as a gift. And if you want to make a gun out of it, so be it. If you're able to mill this part, mill the trigger, the pocket, I'll go ahead and I'll get you the lower parts kit, and then you'll have a complete lower. Once you drill the pocket out, it's already become a gun. It's pretty much a ghost gun. And then you can drill, or you can put in the lower parts kit, and then the upper piece, man, you can do so much. Whatever, you want to make it a pistol, you want to make it a rifle, you know, you can do a lot of conversion kits. Anyways, that's for another episode. You've probably seen some of my other episodes on this matter. Alright, so you know, I wish the best for you. My personal opinion is that I think if you leave any of these regulated markets, it may be better for you, because these regulations don't protect you. They're barriers. They're barriers to something that you can already do, that you already have the power to do in the first place. There is no loophole. All right. It's amazing how so much disinformation is going on that people think that this is a loophole. No, there was never a loophole. You have the absolute right. You have the absolute right to empower yourself. No one's, you know, you don't have to be a slave, literally. And I don't mean in a bad way. I'm not trying to say you're a slave, but literally, you don't have to follow these regulations one bit, because you never really had to. Only if you wanted to go through all the bullshit, you have to go through these regulations. Other than that, anything unregulated, you have complete control. You have complete power. There's risk involved in it, and that's why I carry 1, 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 guns on me. That's just pistols. I haven't even gotten to my rifles and my shotguns yet, so I still got a long way to go. Matter of fact, you could technically build an army, which they call a militia. You could band together, form a group, and basically be a force to be reckoned with. So, anyways, I saw your video, I saw your comments. I feel for you, but I want to let you know that there is no loophole. You can always do this in an unregulated market, and you can do an unlimited amount. You can start creating money out of thin air. You can make as many guns as you want to, as long as you made them, and there's nothing the state can do about it. Matter of fact, the state may not infringe upon that. There are some things the state may never be involved in. This is one of them. They just have to stand by and watch and let you exercise your right, let you empower yourself. So, you know, people, I have no idea why people put an organization or private entity above themselves. That's what I've learned from using Bitcoin. No, you are equal to them as they are equal to you. No one is above the law. Nobody. Not the president, not the Federal Reserve, not a Supreme Court justice. No one. No one's above the law. No NIS, no NSA employee is above the law. No CIA employee is above the law. No contractors of any of those organizations are above the law. They are all equal to you as you are equal to them. So, anyways, that's my little rant on your rant. So, I'm going to conclude this episode. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment, or even do a video response. Until next time, stay tuned. Bye.